Alright then, let's get started.
All right, cool. So, how's life been?
Well, life is great.
Yeah, so far I can't really complain either. Life is just amazing. I felt good today after service, and yeah, it's like for the most part, it's like I finally have. I guess in a way I have the job figured out. I mean, it didn't really take that long. It took a couple days, but it's what it is. It is what it is, ultimately speaking. But what's in the news today? I mean, I've been saying for a couple days that Uh, I pretty much just don't care about any of the politicians involved. But if I'm being objective, Trump is the best we've got. So, what's in the news?
Oh, let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there was an incident at Manchester Airport, and everyone is, well, drawing up their own conclusions on how it happened, what's the motive behind it, and what people are saying about it. And honestly, this is exactly what most people on the higher end of the world want. People want to get a reaction out of us, and they're doing just that. They did it. They actually got us to be emotional and got people to make conclusions and make it as something else. However else I could interpret this, everyone is upset. Everyone's going to be mad, and regardless where people stand in society and in their views, there's always going to be someone that's going to make the situation as a motive to take down the working class or as a way to say that this is what happens if foreigners come into this country. Like, there's so many ways people can interpret this. And, oh boy, the people, the elites, and those with all the money and the power in the world, they're laughing their asses off, seeing how people react to this. Like, I can't believe people are falling for this. Like, yeah, it's sickening, it's messed up. But of course, there's people like that that has the motives to get a reaction out of us. And it is working.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like of course they're laughing at us, bro. I mean, they were laughing at us harder before when we didn't know anything, even though they were telling us this in plain sight. Because ultimately speaking, it's like I said, they would feel the guilt because they're still human at the end of the day. I know that they're like demon worshippers and they worship Satan and whatnot. But at the end of the day, they're still human, so they feel the need to tell us what's going on, and then laugh at us when we're surprised that we didn't catch on. Ultimately speaking, because that's just how it works. It's like, yeah, they're just laughing at us because it's like, you know what? In a way, I don't really necessarily blame them for laughing at us because, like, bro, it's like, what are we? Because what are we doing?
How has it come to this?
I don't know. I really don't know how it's come to this, to the point where it's like where we don't even know what's going on in our own country, let alone our own probably even in our own houses because of our phones or technology and whatnot. We don't even know if they're watching us, or we don't know if they're listening into us. And yeah, it's like I don't know how it came to this. I don't. I feel like there was a point in history where it's like you didn't have to worry about this too much. It was still there, but it's like it just wasn't as prominent. But yeah, at the end of the day, what are you really gonna do?
Yeah, as of now, there's not much we can do.
There really isn't. I mean, like all actually, all we can do is somehow get away from it, but we have to make up a good amount of money to like get out of it. But the real question
Yeah,
is
so
like,
true.
'cause here's the thing. I believe in a couple of years, we're not going to be able to have the same opportunities that we have to get away from it all and get out of it. We'll just have to we'll either have to comply or just probably starve till death. I'm not really sure. But hello.
Hello.
Did you hear me? I said, what do you think?
I heard you a bit, but you were cutting out like back and forth every now and then, so I wasn't able to hear everything you've said.
Oh, got you. Okay, sorry. Must have been. I was also watching a video on Instagram, so it must have been that too. All right, so I was gonna say pretty much what because dang, I forgot what I said. But yeah, pretty much. What is your overall thoughts on what I said though?
In terms of Manchester Airport and how people wanting a reaction out of us,
Pretty, yeah, pretty much.
like, of course, I don't blame people on the higher end laughing at the people reacting to what event is going on. Like, I get it is a test to see how far people can go and how far people will go out to speak on this issue and say, how could they do this? It's absolutely awful. And they're right. They have every right to be mad about this. But things like that don't just happen. There has to be a motive. There has to be a reason why things like this happen in the first place.
There's a huge
And
reason.
go on.
Oh no, that's all I had to say. I said there's a huge reason.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, it's like there's a huge reason why everything happens for a reason. So I mean, hey, it's like at the end of the day, it's like all you can really do is hope and pray for the best. That the best will come because ultimately it will, except it just takes time. But ultimately, it's like you said. I don't blame the people for laughing at us because we're dumb for not realize we're dumb for obviously hearing it in plain sight but not listening to it.
Yes. And if someone is going to say something that would be useful to know at some point, they have to play off as a joke. Because with jokes, they're not that deep. They don't take that seriously. However, eventually, later, a few years down the line, when it comes to a point where people are getting riled up and they do get emotional at times, whether it's bad, something that's sad, or something that really brings them joy. Eventually, these whatever people seen as jokes decades ago will become reality later on, whether it be today, the present, or maybe a year or two down the line. Like people, if we were deep about it and we were serious in telling everyone how it is, well, there's going to be someone that's going to stop us. But if we play it off as a joke, those same people that would have stopped us will laugh along with them. Like they would know. There's no one's going to believe that. Like that's so stupid. Am I right? But of
Yeah,
course, it's going to
yeah,
happen anyway.
yeah. It's like, anyways, yeah. It's like those things that were jokes years ago that we could have laughed at are now becoming a reality, and now people aren't laughing now. People are like, oh man, like this is actually happening to us. And on top of that, they don't even remember that they saw those in a show as a joke.
Yeah,
Some people, however, do, but most people won't remember the fact that they saw that in a show as a joke at first. But ultimately speaking, it's like, yeah, it's like you really have to analyze certain shows, certain things. It's like, why are they showing this to us? Why is this happening? Why are they playing this on television? Like, for instance, the Simpsons, they flat out tell us what's going to happen. So in the future, because here's the thing, they don't predict the future, they just know this stuff, and they're pretty much telling us through their cartoon what is potentially going to happen.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, most of the things that have happened. And, well, I mean, I think there was an episode where Trump died, but ultimately speaking, it's like that, I guess that didn't come true, but it just seemed like in that show that he was already president. So maybe Trump might. I'm not gonna wish death. I don't wish death on the man, but I'm saying it happen in office. They might do something. They might try to do something to Trump.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people, whether it be my family, friends of mine I went to college or university with. A lot of them have said that they don't like Trump. I'm not going to argue against them because I understand that from what they hear from Donald Trump and what the media says about him, I I will say they have every right to be mad about that. They have every right to be mad about these kind of things being said. Not with Trump, but anyone. But of course, on the flip side, there has to be a concern. There has to be a question asked. Like, if people do say if they do believe that someone is racist or homophobic, xenophobic, or anti-Semitic, or whatever negative term anyone could describe someone as, why are there people that like these people? why are there people supporting why are there people supporting individuals when there's another group of people who listen to what the news say about these individuals, saying something that's bad or controversial? That I'm not sure how else to put it, but something in terms of perspectives and how we view the world is something that in this day and age we have to pay very close attention to. Because not everyone listens to the same stuff. Not everyone listens to the same radio stations, news sources, and so on. There's always going to be different perspectives would have listened to whatever events from a different narrative. And the thing is, the journalists of these media outlets, like most people, they have opinions of their own. They have their own perspective on how they view things. And if people, for years, have been so reliant on a small handful of sources that has a way of telling stories or news in a certain way that satisfies them, the next time there comes a news source that has a different way of narrating the news that doesn't satisfy these people's satisfactions and desires, well, of course, they're not going to like it because they're not used to hearing stuff like that. And if we open our minds to different sources and different perspectives, I'm not saying people will agree on everything or a lot of things, but at least we'll get an understanding to why people would believe or agree with things that we hear and see.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm ultimately saying, like, you got to have a reason why you don't like a person. You got to have a reason why you call this person racist or like, homophobic, transphobic, or simply uh, anti-Semitic. I almost forgot the word. Anyways, yes, like, you got to really have a reason why. And most people don't have a reason why. They just hear that this person's racist, anti-Semitic, etc., and then they roll with it.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so it's like people are easily just manipulated. I'm gonna say people because, like, it doesn't matter about the race or anything like that. It doesn't matter about the race or anything like that. It's just like, most people just, like, are easily manipulated. Even me, you, Risk, and Faith at one point were easily manipulated until I started doing some searching. Then I told you guys about it. Then you guys started doing searching, and then I'd say Risk has done more searching than I would say. Like, you and Risk. I would say you and Risk have done more searching than me. But, like, I'd say, like, between you two, like, you guys. I don't know which one has done more searching since then. Like, for the most part, we figured out a lot of things about the world and about, like, how stuff really works.
Well, I will say, in terms of the searching, I think Risk 11 has been a lot early onto this, like way before that you and I have ever met him back when Byte was around. He's already had cemented views that we currently have right now. With me, although I came a little later in the searching, and I know I've already said this many times, my family and all of my ancestors have had a long history of finding a ways to success. Now, I'm not going to say they are bad. However, I do feel like that how the people I know and close to me, how they got to where they are, it it feels too good to be true. And I'm not saying I'm not grateful for the things I have, which honestly not a lot of people in this world would have. But of course, anyone who has this, but anyone that has a different lifestyle, lived in a different background, who wants to be successful, it doesn't matter how good you are at a certain job or the kind of skills you have. What's very important, as well as the skills you have, is the people you know. And the thing is, my family have been very fortunate to have come across the right kind of people to get to where they want to be. Like, I remember when I was very young, I was kind of Oh, not now, but at one point I have been in a couple of acting gigs when I was very young, and I've got a notable amount of recognition at the time. And of course, fast forward a few years after taking a break from that, I have gone semi-viral on social media. Again, not as big now. However, I do get recognized. Have gotten a lot of recognition. Finally, a couple of years back when I was in high school, and even today, I do get recognized by a handful amount of people. Although it may not be as, how do I put it? It's not the highest profile recognitions from my experience, because of course I'm in a city where there's a handful of celebrities or influential people living in the city actually commute and working in the studios where the city, well, mainly contributes to nearly half of the UK's media. So, of course, I am going to be put in a puddle or a huge pool of big names in my country.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, gotcha. I thought I was staying quiet because I thought you were like pausing for. I thought there was gonna be a but in that, but
Nope.
yeah, it's like I'm just gonna say this. It's like it's like I'll be honest. It's like I always said this is like you I don't know. It's just something about you. I mean, you even said you went semi-viral and you got some recognition. I'd say like you have a ton of potential to like be big to be bigger. You do, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's like because I don't know. It's like just out of all of us, it's like you said like say you have connections, you have this and that. So it's like I just gotta say like I yeah, it's like I said like you got just a lot of potential. Do you still technically like somewhat get recognized even though there are famous people like where you're at?
Yeah, I do get recognized in public. Mostly when I go out in the city centre of Manchester, going back and forth between uni or just having a walkabout, like I do at times when I ever do go out. They do recognize me, but it's not the case of, oh my gosh, that guy from the internet. It's just, oh, it's that guy. I remember him from a couple of years back. It was alright, I guess.
Oh, what did they like recognize you for? Like what did you go semi-viral for, anyways?
Well, you heard of Musically, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah. Back when Musically was around, before TikTok came along, uh, I posted a video, well, at least a couple of videos, on Musically. They got on the featured page, and the rest was history.
Oh wow, this was a long time ago.
Yes.
Wow, this is dang. That's years, a decade, isn't it? Like decades. I'm just gonna say years.
Well, was nearly, it's almost a decade.
Yeah,
Well, definitely years.
yeah. Let's just say years. Like almost a decade. Oh, that was a while ago. And people still recognize you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I remember. I think there was one point in my life when when I got recognition, and that was pretty much when I was. At one point, I had this one page where it's like I had a ton of followers. It's like because I got a ton of shoutouts for shoutouts. So this was during a time. I believe this was during 2018. Actually, I got a
Oh
ton
yeah.
of I got a ton of shout out like for some odd reason that was very popular on Instagram, so I was like, you know what? Because
Shout out for shout out.
yeah, shout out for shout out. So I was like I just pretty much hopped on that train because like I wanted to get like one of my pages got disabled, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna build this new page, but I want to get noticed, like immediately. So I don't even know how many I got. I got a lot in one day. A ton of shout outs for shout outs. I don't it took a lot of texting people and saying, "Hey, shout out for shout out. Hey, shout out for shout out. Hey, shout out for shout out." And I had to find these people in like the likes of other posts. And then after those shout out for shout outs, it's like the followers just started flowing in. It's like there was a point where it's like I didn't even need to do shout outs for shout outs anymore because it's like people were just following me every single day. Even like underground rappers were following me too. I'm pretty
Well,
sure I'm pretty sure some of them thought I was a rapper. because it's like I used to go by a name called ATM Eric. So I went by many names actually, but like the name ATM Eric just stuck more. And
Yes.
and like honestly, some of them blocked me for no reason, and I never even interacted with them at all. I'm pretty sure even
Well,
this, huh?
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this rapper named this underground rapper. Hold on, his name is I think his name was Trillikid or is Trillikid. I don't know if he still raps, but I used to listen to him a lot, and for some odd reason he blocked. I don't know why. It's funny now, but it's a little funny now. But hey, it's like the guy blocks me for some reason. I'm like, dude, why'd you block me? And then I went on his friends. I commented on one of his friends' pages, and I'm like, hey, can you tell Trillikid to unblock me? And he unblocked me. But hey, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like But I kept doing shoutouts for shoutouts. I kept getting more and more followers, and yeah, it's like it was just all history. But ultimately speaking, I ended up deleting the page because it's like I don't know. It's like just so much was going on that page, and it's like I just didn't want to deal with it. So it's like I just deleted the page and I started over from scratch again. But
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's like yeah, and ever since then, I almost and I say almost. I pretty much almost got to 1K again, but then I don't know how, but I somehow stunted my growth on purpose because like I just didn't want. But I only stunted it because it's like I don't know. It's like at that point, I was still kind of concerned. It's like I thought I should have been getting at least 100 likes every single time because I had 1K. It was kind of it was silly, but it's like now I know that's not the case. Now it's like not everyone is always gonna be active, and that's fine. That's fine with me now. So it's like, hey, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it is what it is.
Absolutely.
But ultimately speaking, it's like, hey, if I ever got to that point again, cool. But I never really, tried to work towards that point. It's like I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy where I'm at now. So, hey, if I ever get to that point or more, then that'd be great. But yeah, I was semi popular on Instagram. Even people from school recognized me as well. They called me by like my IG name, and then ultimately speaking, I just one day decided that hey, I'm just gonna go by my real name because that's simpler. And on top of that, I was changing my name every like couple days, and it just got tiring. Changing
Mm.
like putting on all of these like aliases, and then I just said, all right, I'm just gonna go by Eric Taylor because that is my name, and yeah, that stuck ever since. But it's like it's like I said, I was semi popular on Instagram at one point, but I gave that up because it's like I was just I guess I just couldn't handle it, or I was just upset about the amount of likes I was getting.
Yeah.
Oh, Mighty Beans, I remember those.
Mighty Beans.
You've heard of them?
No, I have not heard of them.
Okay, let me. I'm looking on Twitter. I think they were like I'm pretty sure they were some form of toy. Hold on, let me send them in the chat.
All right then.
All right.
Okay, Mighty Beans. They look nice.
I'll be honest. I just remember them. I never really played with them. It is what it is. But except for the big red dog. Okay. Uh, anything else in the news?
Yeah. So you know how for decades Mexicans have been immigrating to the United States because they believe that they would get a better life living there than they would have in Mexico.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, so word has gotten out that there are Americans immigrating to Mexico because the prices there is a lot cheaper.
Oh wow,
Yeah, how the turns have tabled.
wow! I never would have thought I would have seen the day. Mexicans
Neither did
immigrating
I.
to America and Americans immigrating to Mexico,
Yes,
all because of the cheap prices.
yes. You know that the cost of living crisis is so bad in your nation that people of that country is going to another country because the prices is a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
Right, this is not something new. Uh, well, I've heard people in Switzerland, like, they're very rich. The Swiss are very rich. But of course, the prices there is as expensive as they are rich, so there will be Swiss people wanting to go to Germany or France to do whatever errands or chores they want to do as they would have done in Switzerland, but like wouldn't have done because prices in France and Germany is cheaper than it would be in Switzerland because, oh, the cycle continues, you know?
I'm just gonna say this: sooner or later, they're gonna have to say build a wall for any Americans who want to immigrate to our country. Because wow, seriously, I wouldn't have imagined the day.
Yeah,
That,
neither did I. But
yeah,
here we are.
yeah. I mean, hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's only fair. I mean, they're immigrating to our country, so no, like immigrate to their country, right?
Yeah, you know what they say? Shout out for shout out.
Exactly.
It's
uh,
only fair. It's only fair if one country's taking their people in, the same country has taken their other peoples in to as a way of saying thank you for providing a quality of life and a good living for my people. So I'll take in your people to ensure that they can get what they can because prices in our country is a lot cheaper than it is in yours because it is what it is, money circulation and so on. And yeah,
yeah, I gotta say that. I gotta say this too, man. It's like there's a bunch of people immigrating, like I'll be honest. I'd say when it comes to people immigrating, I'd say it's all they come from everywhere. Even there are even people who come from Africa that are coming from Africa who are like immigrating to this country. Like I talked to this one African immigrant, before. It's because I'm not gonna lie, she seemed pretty. She seemed broke. She seemed broken, so I talked to her, and she was talking about like witchcraft. Just she was trying to fight because I guess in her country, people were cursing her with witchcraft, and she was trying to fight witchcraft with witchcraft, etc. And I'm like, you can't fight good. You can't fight evil with evil. You gotta fight evil with good. I didn't say those words, but I pretty much said hey man, you need Jesus because you can't fight evil witchcraft with witchcraft. It doesn't make sense because it's just gonna make you worse. But yeah, it's I gotta say, man, as far as the immigration thing goes, it's like they're coming from, and it's I would say when it comes to Africans, I would say I would say they could probably thrive here because it's I mean pure blooded Africans, not African Americans. When it comes to Africans, it's they could probably thrive here because most of them know English, and it's if you're an English speaker, you can at least get far. But I'd say for the Spanish speakers, they would have to learn English in order to actually get far in this country, which is why it's kind of I'm not gonna say it's dumb that they're coming here, but at the same time, it's I don't know if if you want to thrive, at least go to a Spanish country where people can understand you. If you're trying to flee one Spanish country, just go to another one. It just doesn't make sense for you to migrate to America and then just instead of living the American dream and trying to actually make your life better, you're just homeless on the street. It just doesn't make any sense to me because most of them are homeless. Most of them legitimately have no homes, and they either live out in their cars and are cooking outside, or they're just homeless. It doesn't make sense to It doesn't make sense to migrate from one country and just be homeless in another. It's you came to this country for a reason. Even if you're an illegal immigrant, at least try to get work. Don't just
yeah.
sit. Don't just sit there and rely on on the checks from the government. Try and get.
Yeah, those checks aren't gonna last forever.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, you might as well take advantage of those checks, and probably I don't know if you're gonna be homeless, at least get a tent or something. Get a tent or something, or I don't know, save up for a car, anything. But just, bro, get a job, or actually no, get a phone first, and then try to get a job so that you get your own place. I think that should be the game plan, especially if you have kids.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're just coming here by yourself. Okay, fine. Still, don't be homeless. Don't be lazy. Get a job, work. But it's I don't know. It's I would be expecting the same from myself if I went to another country. Learn their language to an extent, Although I'm not going to move to a country that I cannot understand their language. They'd have to speak a little bit of English. If not,
Yeah, it just makes it easy for everyone.
exactly. Even if you have an accent, you like I need to be in I need to be in an English speaking country because it's like I just can't understand. Like, look, if I can't understand a language, then yeah, I'm gonna be on the streets then. Because like I don't even think they would be able to understand me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well ahead. Everything checks out.
It sounds like, is there let's check, is there anything else in the news?
Yeah. Risk said something in the chat that from now on, women in Saudi Arabia can dress however they want without male permission.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If this was like I don't have a problem with it. It's nice to see countries trying something new. But of course, if a lot of feminists see this story, they'll be jumping up and down and cheering, and celebrating because women empowerment, yeah.
Oh,
No,
those
they will love that.
those feminists just want them to be as miserable. They just want other women to be as miserable as them because like they can't find a man. Let's be honest. It's like, look, like, hey, if you want to wear whatever you want, I can't control that. You can only control that. Well, technically
Yeah,
now you can control that. But hey, I'm just saying, it's like there's a reason why. Um, I would say a woman, the way a woman dresses and the way a woman perceives herself. Well, for one, I'll start here. Women are women are a man's ultimate weakness. Our man's ultimate weakness. So it's like, I will say. So I mean, pretty much, if the woman does something, that's inappropriate, the man will most likely want to proceed to fulfill those desires. So it's like, I would say, like, the women need to be, like, careful with their sexuality, especially because it's like, looks like the world is not only going to perceive you as different way if you dress inappropriately, and then you're just going to end up complaining about it, saying, why am I getting sexualized? You should know why you're dressing the way that. So I'm just going to say, like, for the girls in Saudi Arabia, if you're going to dress provocatively, be prepared for the male gaze. Be prepared to obviously be persecuted for that. I'm not going to do it, but other men will. Just be prepared for that. You just have to be prepared. You can wear whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You're your own person. But at the end of the day, hey, if you face persecution for it, it's not on me. It's not on the other men. It's on you. Obviously, it's on the men to control themselves, but also on you to dress respect. I mean, a nice dress is good every now and then. I mean, but hey, I'll say, like, as far as, like, just showing everything off every single day, it's like, unless it's a special occasion, I don't see a reason why you should show skin or at all for that matter. But hey, once again, you're your own person. But yeah. So, did you hear about the Olympics?
you mean the opening ceremony?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm have to be honest. Whoever feelings are going to be tarnished, understandable, but of course it has to be said. There are millions of people. No, there are billions of people watching the Olympics, and there will be children watching this. And I'm not saying what's being done or what's being said isn't appropriate for children, but what I will say, there will be themes that could and they would be interpreted as such if it's pointed out, and there's a lot of people pointing that out. So, however people make it out of the opening ceremony, it's hard to ignore that. I don't know, man. It's just sad. Of course, people can live their lives how they want to live, but of course, you should let people decide if they want to get interested in that. Don't just intentionally put people in that position just to get a reaction, which of course they are getting reactions from both sides. It's a win-win. But this is a family-friendly event, and a lot of people A lot of people I've seen online will argue this exact point. It's family friendly, and what happened in the opening ceremony, there have been themes that would not be seen as family friendly.
Yeah, I will say this, like, what they were doing was inappropriate, and the mockery for, like, Jesus Christ, and, like, the Last Supper. That was crazy. I mean, it's like, but at the end of the day, um, I can't really be mad at it because it's expected. It's like, there's always going to be mockery like that. I mean, it was prophesied in the Bible, so it's like, yeah, like, I'm not really upset about that. I mean, like, and also, like, no, they're inappropriate actions in general. It's like, yeah, it's like there are kids watching that, and you're choosing to put that out in the world. I mean, like, look, just showcase the athletes and what they can do, man. It's like, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're trans. I mean, shoot. Shoot, man. I mean, they're all just. I mean, there's just some form of a. There's just some form of a homosexual spirit on them, bro. It's like, and it's like it's making them act. It's making them act like that. And hey, shoot, I was at church and, like, there was, and, like, there was a, like, pastor. There was a pastor who, like, came in church. And it's like, he used to be gay too, but it's just not. Hey, I mean, I just gotta say this, man. Like, they gotta get right with God. Because ultimately speaking, it's like, what they're doing is just inappropriate, not only for themselves but for the kids who are um who are aspiring athletes. Like, I do not care. Like, when you're like, when if I'm gonna watch the Olympics, I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you're gay, bro. Whatever you want to do in your free time, that's your free time. I don't care what you got to do.
And if you are gay, lesbian, trans, or whatever you're standing in the LGBTQ plus community, good for you. As long as you're happy, fair enough. But of course, there are people in this world that will have challenges, and they probably won't ever accept that community. I'm not. This is not to stop them from expressing themselves, but people will have to understand there's going to be different opinions, and not everyone is going to agree on the same things. And any attempt to just forcibly push whatever identity you want to promote into other people's faces, even when they clearly show that they do not want to be a part of it, that is something to take into consideration.
Yeah, I'm not really all for pushing. I'm all for just. I'm pretty much all for, like, you telling, like, people about it. I'm all for, like, you just, like, sharing, like, your experience with something about something. But ultimately speaking, like, if someone doesn't want to learn about it, you just have to, like, wipe your feet and just move on to the next person who wants to learn about it. And ultimately speaking, it's simply about ultimately it's just about consistency. It's like, you can't just push this, like, what you believe is a true identity onto people, because ultimately speaking, you're just gonna push them away from that. And I would say, like, I could care less if, like, you push people away from, like, what your rhetoric is, because ultimately speaking, it's a false rhetoric to begin with. It's false rhetoric to begin with. But I don't care if you push people away from that. But I will say this objectively: if you want to bring more people to your rhetoric, you should not force it down their throats.
Yes.
It's like, really, honestly speaking, like, the only rhetoric that should be taught is like, the Christian faith. But ultimately speaking, I don't believe in anybody pushing that down to anyone, because you can win the argument, but ultimately speaking, but you're gonna lose the person in the process.
Yeah, that's going to happen with a lot of people with whatever they views they have.
Exactly.
It's not about who is right and who is wrong. It's about how people feel about these ideas and those opinions.
Exactly. It's really all about how they feel with these ideas, and, like, how they're gonna take it in. And, like, certain people won't take it in pretty good. Certain people will. But ultimately speaking, it's like, I'd say, like, most people wouldn't take in, like, the love of Christ, because, like, they're in love with the darkness. Ultimately speaking, yeah, they're in love with the darkness. It's like, if you don't really take in the message of Christ, then yeah, you're in love with yourself and in love with the darkness. You're in love with being in the dark, because you don't want the light to shine on, like, your iniquities. You don't want to be told that you're in need of a savior. But yeah, in reality, we all are, and whether if you realize that or not, we all are. And ultimately speaking, as far as the gay thing, yeah, it's like I don't believe in that. I believe that is a false identity. Even like once again, a pastor is like saying it's like even with that, it's like it's kind of it doesn't fill anything. Like even like the preacher said, even the preacher who was preaching today, who visited, he said like that doesn't fill anything. Only Christ will fill that void that you have in your heart. So it's
So
ultimately. Oh, what?
I was gonna say that is so true.
Yeah. So it's like it's just about how you do things.
Yes, of course.
So and yeah, it's like also I've seen some posts like Andrew Tate was talking about how his usual thing how Christians aren't standing up for their beliefs, and I'm like, bro, I don't want to say I was like shut up, but I'm like, bro, just because it's not happening where you're at doesn't mean it's not happening somewhere else. And it's
This all
like,
this all this all comes back to the whole perspectives thing. From Andrew Tate's point of view, he may not see Christians taking a stand and staying true to their values. But from another perspective, most people who would come across Christian content, there are people reading out scriptures from the Bible. There are people saying, come to God, come to Jesus Christ, and or whatever was along those lines. There's always going to be people with different views on the situation. Now, of course, I understand people are not going to agree with. I don't think a lot of people agree on Andrew Tate with a lot of things.
yeah, I don't. I used to agree with him on like him on a lot of things. It's like, but ever since I became Christian, it's like I'm like, and also it's like it's mainly because it's like, bro, it's like I saw him just like talking so much crap about Christians, and I'm like, bro, why am I listening to this guy anymore? Now some of the stuff he says is pretty good, but it's like as far as like faith, as faith goes, it's like, bro, it's like Andrew. I'm not gonna listen to him as far like in regards to faith because like he's a Muslim and he's even priding himself at the fact that like he's like me as a Muslim I'm defending Jesus. It's like, bro, you might as well be a Christian then, because it's like, and I've been seeing comments. I'm like, Muslims are the real Christians, and I'm like, what? No, they're not. All right. Anyways, yeah, it's like Andrew. It's like I agree with some of the things he says, but it's like as far as faith goes, I'm not going to listen to a word he says in regards to like faith because he's in a false one. So it is what it is. I believe it's false, but like I don't have to like the faith to like the person. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, and of course, just because he says something that not a lot of people agree with, or is living a lifestyle that not many people agree with, that does not mean he is not onto something. So
Okay,
yes,
Hey,
but of course,
not
still a
much.
risk.
hey, but I will say this: as far as Andrew Tate goes, man, it's like, look, I agree with some of the things he says, but like it's like I said, faith wise,
Yeah,
I just don't agree with him. It's like I'm not gonna discredit anything he says because like what he talks about the world too, and it's true. Some of the stuff he says about most of the things he says about the world is true. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
I'm not gonna discredit him because he's a Muslim. I'm not gonna discredit anybody because of their faith. Even if you were a Buddhist, and you were speaking facts about the world, I would listen to that part.
I
But that
suspect in less than 10 years, America will break in two.
in what way?
I think the Republican states and the Democrat states will go their own way.
honestly, I would
I can't see it any other way. Like,
honestly,
fuck.
if I
If
can,
we're getting to the point where you're having to shoot their candidate for office, then there's something wrong here.
there's a huge problem there too. Yeah, there really.
Yeah, if they don't like you and they're openly about it. They don't like us. They don't like conservatives, and I'm telling you. Well, if you don't like us, then why don't we just fucking take all our good entrepreneurs, so Elon Musk, all the fucking rich conservatives, because all of them that run these companies, a lot of these guys are conservative. Oh, Blackman, very conservative. Some of
If I
the guy that created Oppenheimer that couldn't write. There's also something bad about this, right? James Woods owned the rights to Oppenheimer, right? But he couldn't fucking say Oppenheimer won so many awards, right? But he couldn't even say take part in that, right? and celebrate that because he was scared that he would offend his media or his lawyers or his people. Basically said, if you speak about on this movie, right, you'll probably doom us to not get any views, right, or make money. So basically, the guy had to self-censor just for these fucking leftards.
He had to self-censor.
But he did. He owned the rights to the fucking movie, to Oppenheimer, right? The book, right? And he couldn't even fucking talk about it. He couldn't say he was a part of it. He couldn't even say he had a producer credit on it. Because, the left fucking fearmongered and said, if you talk about this, the movie won't go about, right? The movie will probably fail, right?
Guess so.
Yeah, and the guy, yeah, but it's all right for the left to fucking talk about bullshit. It's all right for them to talk about trans theory, race theory, and basically racist. But when he wants to talk about the movie, it's like they want to. You can Christian when you come out as a Christian, you can't work in Hollywood. You can't be public about it. You've got to be hiding in secret like a fucking one of those Jim Crow laws.
Yeah,
where you can't. You can't be seen, but you can't be seen or heard, but you work there. That's just weird.
It is kind of weird that
the fact that you're literally. And this is also a good thing because this means that when the judge asks Gina Carano and Elon Musk about the Disney lawsuit, right? They can now point to that and other cases like that, which makes them look even worse. So you discluded someone based on his freaking religion. He owned the rights to the movie, but he couldn't say anything because the leftists were scared. He'll make the movie bomb. Even though I'm pretty sure the movie people would a lot more base conservatives around the world than there are leftists. I'm sure they would have watched the movie. Did you see Sound of Freedom was a banger simply just because it was a right wing movie, conservative movie. So I think what they were saying was a little shite.
I'm not gonna lie. If I can make a new party and it can go mainstream, I would.
Let's be real here. Unless you kiss that Jewish ring, you ain't gonna get in power. That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
I listened to a speech of an Irish woman, right? She did the view on the fact, and this is on YouTube, right? I'm surprised they even allowed this on YouTube, right? But she basically openly said, everybody in the world, right? We're basically cattle, and we're in concentration camps. She was like an Irish. I think she's someone trying to become a politician, right? Or run for office of Ireland, right? It was a woman, right? She was swearing like man. I'm surprised she was even allowed on thing. She was saying things that a lot of people on the right say, but I'm surprised they allowed it on YouTube. To be fair, knowing how mad they like to censor people.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the videos that YouTube got about. I don't know.
It was a live stream.
Oh, wow. I mean, right, though.
But then it wasn't exactly the live stream of the actual thing, right? It was some guy that was actually at the event, right? I think Ireland's going to be doing some interesting things soon. I don't see them standing and putting up with. They even burned a Muslim freaking encampment. No, an migration encampment.
Wow, so it's really big.
The Irish are not fucking around. They burned down an encampment. I suppose an encampment that was effectively being set up. Well, it shows that it was burned down. Who knows if it was actually the Irish or not? But
hey, man, I mean, I will say this.
The fact is, the thing is though.
You gotta preserve your identity, man. It's because if
anybody's gonna do that, it'll be the Irish because they fought a war over. They fought a massive war over trying to get free.
Hey,
supposedly at the event, the London March thing in Trafalgar Square with Tommy. What was his name? Basically, the guy, Tony Robinson.
Yeah,
I've
heard about that.
Effectively, yeah. Supposedly he got jailed.
Well, of course he's going to get jailed. He started a protest with 100k turnout of British people with the Union Jack flag.
Yeah, so what's so wrong about waving the Union Jack?
With that kind of influence, of course someone is going to put him behind bars.
Because they're scared of him. He's scared that he'll fucking ruffle the feathers of the elite.
I'm not going to defend Tommy Robinson or anything.
I'm not going to defend him either, but
the power that he has with the people that support him. That is scary. That is something that you have to watch out for. Whether or not you like him, that's something you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that are fed up with people coming into this country illegally and getting all this benefit, getting everything for nothing. There's young people at my work, right? Even they think they feel like they're getting taken advantage of to a certain extent. They weren't saying it out loud like that, but they were saying the same gist, right? It's basically like the fact that literally they do nothing and they get handouts for next to nothing. Well, we're working and they get. It's just annoying, but
Yeah,
nothing for it. But
we talked about that earlier too. Yeah, it's like I'm saying, like, a bunch of people from different countries, even Africa too, are coming in here just being lazy, doing nothing. It's
but
like,
then again, you could say that about Americans and Brits together, and even the people in the dole, you could say that about that. Like, right, like fair enough if you're on your hard times, right? But there are people, the universal credit and shit like that's been taken advantage of. Clearly, there's wasn't there like freaking? I think it was in the UK. There was a guy that made like hundreds of millions or 50 million plus British pounds simply basically just scamming the system. And this is during COVID-19, they were abusing it. But there'll always be people like that, though. Sadly, how long do you think that Starmer's got in office till he gets out? And do you think that also? Did you hear the thing with the Bitcoin conference and the fact that Trump seems to be for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
It's quite interesting, but you've got to wait and see if you actually believe him or not. It's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are saying, "Oh, that could just lead open to CBDC."
you know what? I'm just gonna say this.
I think don't get me wrong. I do think Trump's controlled opposition, but I find him hilarious just to see what he does. He's a comedian. He's a shower of clowns, but there are shower of clowns, sadly.
I didn't even get to text.
Oh yeah, but the Conservatives don't seem to have like that much great of a choice for like the next leadership person. Tom Tugendhat's one of them. Priti Patel's another one. I personally would have preferred Jacob Rees-Mogg if he was able to maybe kept the seat in Dorset, Somerset. I would have preferred him running for the frickin' thing just for the laughs. I always found that guy is hilarious to listen to. Even though he sounds like an arrogant prick, I always found him quite interesting. He seemed like an actual reasonable person you could actually listen to. The guy actually seemed pretty articulate compared to the average day sort of like the Conservative Party. Simply just because he seemed like he actually made sense. He calls it. He seems like I think he would have switched to Reform. I'm being honest.
You think?
Yeah, most definitely. The guy was basically encouraging and basically saying, "Are you interested in welcoming Nigel Farage back into the Reform Party? Nigel Farage back into the Tory Party?"
Well, even if the Conservatives want him back, Nigel Farage said himself he's more interested in getting the Tories to join Reform rather than him joining them.
Yeah, why would Nigel join them when he could get the Tories to join him and literally create a new party? Let's be real here. I think the entire rightists of the Conservative Party, right, should all move over to Reform and leave whatever's left of the new liberal order, the new liberal freaking Conservatives. Conservatives can just consort to moderates, the moderate party or something like that, because they ain't conservatives. They're moderates. They are people with a bunch of basic thingy, but they're not real conservatives. That's one of the reasons why I voted for Reform, because I wanted to create a new party. I wanted to do exactly what they did to the what our ancestors did to the Liberal Party. Make them a joke and then replace them with someone else. And I think Reform is going to literally do what Labour did to the fucking Liberal Party. The Liberal Party, in case you didn't know, Eric, was the second biggest party in the UK. Before Labour became the second biggest. They mainly won elections in the 1900s. And then that party, though, it now formed it was a different party. It was called the Liberal Party, right? But it's now the Liberal Democrats. They merged a bunch of our smaller parties. Keep themselves afloat. They basically got wiped out down to six frickin' seats. Right? And they basically didn't have enough, so they got frickin' wiped out, basically. And now they're the Liberal Democrat Party, and now they have 60 seats in the House of Commons. Well, Reform Nigel has about 5, but we have. Did we pick the best? Do we have the best quality MPs in Reform, or is it just? Are they just? I think we got shafted with a bunch of. The thing is, I think didn't we? Would you say that those seats there that Reform got are base seats that are probably going to be there with them for a long time, or a good base? Or do you think they could flip?
I think given the election where Reform UK came second in a lot of seats, nearly 100, not exactly, but nearly. I do think at the rate they're growing at, there is a chance that Reform UK can get a handful more seats, as well as increasing the majority of the seats they do have right now.
Do you think there's a chance that they could eventually eclipse the Tories and make them a fucking minority in the House of Commons? That's one of the reasons why.
They can. It is possible.
I think it is possible, because it's been proven with fucking the Liberal Democrats that you can fucking destroy them. It just takes time.
Of course, patience is always the key to everything.
Effectively, what we're doing in Britain, right, do you think it could be replicated in America?
No.
Don't we have the same fucking proportional voting system as them?
Yeah, but the thing is, the US is just two big parties and nothing else.
It is extremely hard to get on the fucking bastard ballot.
Yeah, if you're not Republican or Democrat, forget about it. You have slim chance at anything.
That's true. Shoot, look at Robert.
That's not true. Like there are the liberal. Wait, what was it?
The Libertarian.
Yeah, they're on every party vote now. But they're still not as big as Republican or Democrats. They'll get a few votes, but nothing else. I think, the way the media is marketing, they kind of look like a fringe group of people, of nomads. That's what it kind of feels like with them. Either way, America's going to lose, because I think America's going to get freaking draft. I think America's going to split in two. I can't see Texas putting up with this fucking shite that's going on in that union. I can't see that Florida putting up with it. I can't see the rest of those states, Republican states, putting up with that crap. Especially if they fucking cheat and Trump doesn't win. I can see them literally fucking leaving the union, forming their own country, or at least I'm positively seeking basically saying, look, filing motions to basically leave the union, right? But we want to do it. We basically want to host a referendum. Effectively, they want to do exactly the way we did it with it. I think they should do, if they want to leave America, right? They should effectively. I think they should have a referendum first. Number two, I think they should do it in a way where it doesn't mean war. I think they should do it where there's a peaceful situation, right? They leave, they pay some financial penalty or something like that, maybe for a couple of years, and then they're off to the races. And I think the new capital should be Texas.
But what about in Texas?
Definitely not Houston. It's too liberal. Baton Rouge, maybe.
I guess. I think we'll look at this point.
So has Kamala got your vote, Eric?
You know what? Yeah, Kamala does have my vote, because she's a strong, independent woman who worked her way to the top. Honestly,
worked her way to the top.
Yeah, worked her way.
And she's a racial minority.
She's a racial minority.
Wait, are you reading from the fucking CNN talking points now?
Yes.
She's a racial minority. She did so much things for black people. It's done.
She's a woman.
She's a woman. She's done as much for the black people as what Obama did, which is basically freaking used them as a freaking scapegoat. And
you know what?
Same with Biden. He has done nothing for them apart from literally using race bait them for votes. I don't think Biden's done anything.
Kamala Harris,
that guy's out.
Cookout. She's invited to the black cookout because she's done so much for the black community.
Yeah.
No.
I just can't.
Oh shit.
Qatar effectively basically proved right. They're going to they're going to spin some fucking bullshit narrative that Kamala's winning in the polls, when we all know that's full of freaking BS.
Yeah.
And then they're going to freaking spin the narrative, she's doing great.
In all seriousness, though, she does not have my vote, bro. Like, come on. Like, what is?
I wouldn't even vote for her. I don't even think Faithy would vote for her. Like, she's she's not, and she's like, I wouldn't say she's a full conservative, but she's in the middle.
So she's like in the middle of like both.
In the middle of effectively, she's liberal on certain policies, but she's Republican and conservative on economic policies.
Gotcha.
But that's most women, aren't they? Though, like.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll be honest.
To be fair, I wouldn't.
Trump is the best we got, but it's like I don't even trust.
He's still not the best. He's
Yeah,
not the best. He's the
none of
best
them.
you've got right now. I'm starting to think Nixon was not a bad guy.
Yeah, it's like honestly, the Trump is the best we've got. He's not the best. I don't even want. I'm not gonna vote for him. I'm not gonna vote for any of them because I don't look. None of them are that good, but Trump is the best. Trump is the only
Well,
best.
he's the only one you've got to a certain extent. He's still going to be a pawn of the freaking Israeli state, and they'd probably get into Iran, a hot war with Iran, which will probably get into a hot war with Russia, because Russia and Iran are fucking BFFs. Not to mention, America seems to be fucking up and tight in the arms of fucking getting in a war with fucking China. Like, what is it with these fucking idiots and wanting to start World War III?
I don't
Like,
know.
I don't see the benefit. What? Oh, and Zelensky says he's finally ready to fucking to freaking sign a peace agreement. I'm telling you, the peace agreement is whatever Russia's holding right now, territory-wise, that's the fucking deal. If you got a problem with that, go fucking kiss his arse. You got no chance. Whatever Russia's holding right now, and still holding as a moment right now, so all the regions that Russia is holding, especially in Ukraine right now, I say they sign the deal there. The West says, oh, Putin's not going to get away with as much land as he's got right now. You'll have no fucking choice. He's not going to fucking sign anything unless he gets what he wants. Gets the land.
True that.
And they think that Putin's going to accept anything less than what he's fucking got. He's lost so many men to this fucking bullshit, to NATO's bullshit. He needs a win to fucking take back to the Russian people. Oh, look, guys, we liberated Ukraine. We did sacrifice a bunch of humans, but we did get a decent amount of territory off this. We got a decent seaport. We got some decent. We've been able to realize who's our friend and who's our foe. Who cares who's really got our back during the fucking shit shows and who really hasn't got our back. So who's fake and who's real?
True that.
They now realize is China really our BFF, or is he a conniving cunt that's willing to stab us in the back at any moment? They realize they now know who their friends are. Clear as day that China's still friends with them. It's clear as day that freaking India's still pals with them. It's clear as day Iran's still pals with them. It's clear as day that Hungary still wants to do business with them. It's clear as day that other countries in Indonesia want to do business with Russia. Did you hear about the Olympics and the satanicness?
Yeah,
The open ceremony.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
yeah, like pretty much disgraceful. It's inappropriate, and yeah, it's like also we talked about Andrew Tate saying how Christians aren't standing up for it. I said this: just because they're not doing it in his country does not mean it's not happening all around the world.
I'm standing up to it. I don't think it's great. I'm boycotting the entire fucking Olympics.
Yeah, it's like like there's not really much. Some people can't really do much. All you can really do is just not support the Olympics. Then it's all.
What do you do? Like, I suppose you could boycott some brands that freaking supported it, but
I'm not gonna lie. I think my bank, TD Bank, kind of supports the LGBTQ community. I'm not gonna change banks, but it's like because it's a good bank. But
I think all banks freaking do that, though. To be fair, I'm pretty sure some of the companies I own support the freaking Olympics. I'm investing in companies that probably freaking profited off freaking bombing Israel. Doesn't mean I don't like them. No, that bomb Palestinian people supposedly, but by feeding companies, right? Like businesses that are still operating in Israel, right? But again, I've got companies that probably still operate in Russia. It's just that they can't publicly say they operate in Russia because, the leftists will have a field day. Even though nobody's going to freaking... Why the hell would you get out of a good business that's generating money? Like, for what it looks like, Unilever is looking to sell its other ice cream businesses, but is willing to keep its Russian ice cream business. That must mean that the Russians are buying tons of ice cream and making them money. Well, the West is not buying ice cream, and they're losing money.
Well, they get what they get.
So what happens when do you think World War III finally gets revealed to everybody that we're in World War III, even though we already are in it?
You said when do you think World War III is gonna?
No, when are they going to officially announce it to the public?
Oh,
We already know we're in World War III, but when are they going to announce it to the public?
But they're waiting for the right time to say it. Say, "Oh my gosh, what we're gonna do?"
Hey, look, man, I'm not.
It's not that deep, man.
The military generals even stated like the UK's got 3 years to beef up its military before we go to war. Before we go to war with Russia, Iran, and China.
Well,
He said
even if countries do say we're in a world war, people need to go out and fight for our country, not everyone is going to do it. Not because they don't want to encourage people to do it. It's just they're going to make exceptions to a select amount of people. Not because of physical limitations, but
or
of
is it
course,
for wealth?
with enough.
Because
Here's
they're
the thing.
wealthy.
Yes, that's the point I want to make. With enough power, with enough money, and all the right connections, you can do and get away with anything.
Of course you can. You could rape children if you got enough money. Clearly, Epstein and fucking Charles has got freaking away with it.
It's awful.
There's supposedly Ukrainian biolabs in freaking Ukraine. Supposedly, it's proven there was some labs like that. So when do you think the next war will be? When do you think America will invade Mexico?
Oh, speaking of which, apparently they're Americans migrate.
To Mexico.
Why? Because it's the standards of living are so much better.
Well, maybe, but the main reason is that the prices in Mexico is a lot cheaper than it is US. So costs of living in a major country is so bad that their own people are going to another country where price is much cheaper there for the same products they want to get. But yeah, how the turns have tabled, I guess.
Do you think Ireland would ever reunite with the UK?
No,
Why not?
because, well, honestly, I don't think either wants to reunite. They want to do their own thing, and of course, Ireland business in Ireland is booming, and the Irish have a GDP of at least $100,000. They are at least nearly twice as rich than the average Brit, if not more. That is wild.
They're also being ethnically replaced. Do you think there'll be tons of Irish people migrating over to Britain when they get ethnically cleansed?
Well, that too, but of
There'll be
course,
tons of Brits. There'll be tons of Irish people trying to migrate over to this country when they're supposedly more fucked than us.
the thing is,
Supposedly.
if there are Irish people migrating to the UK, I have to ask, why? Because from how I see it, I actually want to move to Ireland because the business in Ireland is actually really good. Why do you think the Irish have a GDP per capita greater
That's
than
just
the average Brit?
numbers, though. That's just numbers. It means dipshit. The real world. Let's be real. That's just numbers. Like that's just
Well, if
GDP per capita. They all talk about that, right? But that's basically just the amount of people coming into their country, effectively.
yes, but if you want to do business on Ireland, I don't see why not. Honestly,
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't want to do business in Ireland. It's more money. Supposedly, Britain's losing more and more companies to foreign corporations. We're about to lose one of our biggest drink dispenser companies. They're like a Finnish company, Britvic, about to be delisted and be sold to Carlsberg, the big massive freaking alcohol giant. Well, saying that, Vodafone's going to become a massive player in the freaking telecommunication like industry. They could become a number one player because simply by just merging with Free, which I think they'll go through.
yes, mergers are the way to go. I guess.
The American lobby groups, American lawyers and the lobby groups are going to freaking put a stop to the Kroger Albertsons merger. So I'm probably not going to profit off that. So how?
Yes.
So what does Amazon need to do to improve its business in the supermarket field, at least in the UK?
Well, firstly,
Would
and
acquiring Morrison's or acquiring one of a British supermarket be a better step for them?
I mean, an acquisition of a supermarket in the UK could work out.
I'm surprised they haven't acquired Waitrose, to be fair.
It's not in the high. It's not in the same level as Amazon is. Like Waitrose is a more high-end supermarket.
But ain't that exactly what Whole Foods is, though? Whole Foods is all about high-end, ain't it? But I suppose if they're looking to get into the everyday grocery market, there's two options. There's Aldi. He's still there. Or is that us?
That's us for the night.